Klaus Barbie, the Butcher of Lyon, was a depraved and truly evil Nazi. But when the war is over, he slips the country, avoids justice, and disappears in the criminal underworld. But something in Beate Klarsfeld's heart can't let this rest, so she decides it's up to her to hunt him down. Klaus has killed 14,000, and for this, he must face justice. Hello and welcome to Remember, the show all about histories, mysteries, and a lifelong vendetta for justice. It's always been about that.
At one point, I think you said very recently that it's always been about revenge, and then it's always been about like blood sport, and now it's always been about justice. Every time it's always been about something new.
I will find you. I will hunt you down. And you shall only know peace in death. But that's enough about my life. This week, we're going hunting for everybody's favourite big game, and that, of course, is Nazis.
That's right. Take them down.
No one feels bad when a Nazi gets what's coming to him. And in today's episode, the Butcher of Lyon is on the menu.
Ew. I hate that nickname. It's a good pun, but also I kind of hate it. I've got a lot of feelings going on. The butcher is on the menu.
I'm joined by the limper of North Hollywood, Paula, that's going to leave a bruise Deming. She's essentially already a zombie, slowly falling apart, bit by bit.
Okay, well, this isn't a podcast about my health, is it?
And I'm the lonely gun, Matthew Jude. Also, I think I wrote this episode a while ago, and it was when you thought you broke your toe or something. Remember?
Or maybe it was when I just hurt my knee, perhaps.
You did, yeah. You were limping with that for a while.
I am constantly falling apart, frankly.
You are old. I'm going to say up front that this episode is going to deal with some difficult subject matter. We're going to try to handle some of the details gracefully, but subjects like the Holocaust, torture, and death will be coming up. But to not contextualize some of the crimes committed, I think would be a disservice to the brave people this episode is truly about.
I think that's fair. I think we can talk about this kind of stuff without sensationalizing it.
Better than anyone has ever done.
That's right. Remember, better than anyone has ever done. I think that's our new tagline.
Klaus Barbie, who, up front, is a Nazi with a funny name, had what I truly believe he would describe as a great time while stationed as the head of the Gestapo, the German military police in Lyon, a city in the east of, at that time, occupied France. So to talk about Klaus for a moment, he really isn't the star of this show because that would be a very different type of podcast. He was born in 1913. His father had been in the First World War and was wounded at Verdun. Verdun was that bloodbath that involved the longest battle of the First World War and saw 300,000 men die in just under 10 months.
Jeez.
That was one battlefront, Paula. 300,000 men.
Goodness.
This is believed perhaps to have instilled a contempt and dislike of the French people into the Barbie family.
Yeah, I could believe that.
To begin with, though, Klaus wanted to study theology, maybe become a priest, but instead he ended up needing work. And thanks to the Nazi Labour Service, he found some. He was first conscripted into that before joining the SS when he was in his early 20s, and he was everything they were looking for. By the time he was 29 in 1942, 3 years into World War II here in the West, he was assigned to become head of the Gestapo in Lyon.
Wow, just 29.
Well, you got to remember, everyone's young because everyone and all the old guards are dead.
Yeah, I guess all the old guys died in World War I. I think we talk a lot about World War II, but World War I had such a big effect on everything moving forward, I feel like, and caused World War II in a lot of ways. Anyway, that's not what this episode is about.
It caused World War II directly, but yeah, you are right.
Yeah.
His tenure in this position is, well, it's some of the most debased, heinous, and sickening brutality you can imagine. The type of sadistic insanity that goes beyond normal human comprehension. I'm not going to go into too many of the details, but we're talking about the rape, and murder and torture of innocent men, women, and children.
Ugh.
Sexual assault by trained dogs.
Oh, no.
And for all this, he was awarded the Iron Cross.
Ew. What the fuck?
It's believed that Klaus's actions directly ended the lives of 14,000 people in the city of Lyon.
Holy crap.
Jews, Poles, Roma peoples, homosexuals, and among all the others, too many to list, of course, French resistance fighters. He took pleasure in murder. He wasn't a prison guard taking orders. He was a man in Lyon giving the orders. He was the man who pulled the trigger. He enjoyed murder. He would stand victims at the top of staircases and shoot them in such a way to try and get the body to do a somersault on the way down. He delighted in death.
What the fuck is wrong with this person?
I would say criminally insane, probably.
That's maybe some sociopath
Some.
stuff.
I would say a lot.
Just not a lot of, just no empathy, no ability to understand. Yeah, I don't know. That's, excuse me for the language, but that's fucked.
And for all this, when the war was over, there wasn't even enough evidence to convict him. They were trying the prosecution in Munich they attempted to, along with all these other war criminals, but the problem was they couldn't even find him. A demonstration takes place outside the prosecution. This is in Munich. They're angry that the authorities aren't going after Barbie. The families of his victims turn up. And one such woman, Madame Fortuné Benguigui, who of her 4 sons, 3 were ripped from her.
Jeez.
And under Barbie's actions, they were sent to their deaths in concentration camps. She's there protesting. She starts a hunger strike and she's being supported by Beate Klarsfeld. It's Beate that's the hero of this story. You see, there was an orphanage in a small village called Izir, just outside Lyon. Barbie ordered that the children there were to be removed. These 44 children, 3 of Madame Benguigui's sons, were sent to Auschwitz and murdered.
What, just because they were in an orphanage?
Just because they're in the way. The prosecution don't have proof of Barbie's actions. Not direct proof. So they're going to, frankly, not bother pursuing the matter. There are lots of other Nazis to charge. But that's not good enough. This one, Barbie, put, in Madame Benguigui's words, her sons into ovens. The issue is they can't prove that Barbie knew he was sending the children to their deaths, but Beate has proof. She goes to the General Prosecution's office and presents the evidence. She has a signed report from a witness in Lyon who heard, for a fact, Barbie say that deported Jews would be killed. These children were deported Jews, and he knew what he was doing. The General Prosecutor tells Beate that if they can find this witness, and he will open up the case.
Like, if you can find this person who will actually testify that they heard this, then that'll be enough to try this case.
Beate Klarsfeld says fine. She writes this all up herself as the prosecutor's secretary's gone home. So she just says, move aside, and she gets in front of the typewriter and says, I'll write the goddamn thing. She types up this prosecutor's promise in his office, and he signs it. And so they go and find the witness. And just like that, Klaus Barbie is once again a wanted man.
Wow, she was like, I'm not playing. I'm not taking no for an answer. We're doing this. We're doing this thing.
So who is Beate Klarsfeld?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, Matthew, who is Beate Klarsfeld?
So along with her husband, Serge, they've chosen to, along with making ends meet, making sure there's enough food on the table, making sure life could begin again after the war. On the side, they also decide to hunt down Nazi war criminals.
Just as like a hobby. You're just like, you know what? I've been knitting for so long.
You've got to fill the time.
I need something that's not going to activate my carpal tunnel. What if we, hunt Nazis? In this house, we live, laugh, love to hunt Nazis.
Serge is a Jewish Frenchman whose father had been gassed at Auschwitz, and he met a lovely German woman one fateful night on the Paris metro. Beate, whose father had had a very different experience in the war. He'd fought for the Germans. Beate had felt as a German that she needed to do something to help make things, if not right, something for justice. Not vengeance, justice.
Well, and I think it's important to point out here that one thing we are not saying in any of our episodes, to be clear, is that every German was a Nazi. Okay? That's not a thing.
Oh, no, I would dismiss anyone who even make that claim. I don't think anyone would make that claim, but yeah.
There was a comment left on one thing that we've done where they were like, not every German was a Nazi. And I didn't even feel the need to respond to it because I was like, yeah, duh. But I am now responding to it by saying, like, this is not every German was a Nazi.
Yeah, correct. Also, this was 80 years ago.
There. And it was important, I think, to people like Beate, I think, to show that. Like, hey, lots of us know that this was wrong and we have to do something about it.
Also, look, if the SS turn up to my door and say, I'm going to shoot you or you're going to go fight in the Western Front, well, guess who? Your boy's putting on a blooming swastika and going off to the Western Front to go fight the British. That's just the way it was.
Yeah, people do what they have to do to survive. Yeah.
So they're not going to point the gun at me. They're going to point the gun at my family. I mean, I'm going. I'm going to kill as many British people as possible. Let's be real. I mean, I hate this idea that it could only have happened in Germany. It's nonsense.
It could have happened anywhere.
It was a perfect storm that happened in Germany, but they weren't the Germans aren't special people. They're just people.
Like the rest of us, yeah. So Beate wants to get justice.
Yeah, she wants justice. That's the torch that they were bearing. They don't want to kill Barbie. They want him to stand trial. They decide to act together. They found this witness who heard Barbie talking about these 44 children he's sent to their deaths. He'd heard and would testify that when this witness tried to intervene to ask him to have these children deported, to not kill them, Barbie replied with, deported or shot, it's the same thing. Meaning he knew what he was doing. And this is proof. Beate takes this evidence to Munich and they're forced to reopen the case against Barbie. It's then that he hands Beate a photograph of a bunch of businessmen currently in Bolivia. And wouldn't you know it, one of these Bolivians looks a lot like a certain Nazi.
There's just something about him. He looks kind of like...
pure evil.
A Klaus. or pure evil.
Look.
The two are not related. Just, again, if your name is Klaus.
My friend's dog is called Klaus, and he's one of the loves of my life. But, you know. Barbie fled to South America. Survivors who knew him agree. When they see the photo, they know it's him. But Paula?
Yeah?
Where Barbie had been, you're not gonna like.
Where? Have you been in North Carolina?
So Beate gets his photographic proof published all over the German press. But it's one man in Lima, Peru that sees it. And he's pretty certain that a man he knows called Klaus Altman is the guy in the photo.
Interesting.
A photo of Altman is provided, and there's no doubt it's Barbie under a new name.
Ugh.
I'd have gone with Harumph Barcelona as my new identity.
We know that's how, that's definitely Matthew's witness protection name for sure. So if you ever meet a Harumph Barcelona, honestly, it's probably Matthew having been relocated.
Absolutely it is me. It's not. I'm the guy behind him.
Oh, God.
So how the hell did Barbie get to Peru?
How did Barbie get to Peru?
Glad you asked. Well, first he fled France for Germany, and like so many other Nazis, after 2 years just living on the streets, he gets hired by the Americans. The Cold War had begun, and they wanted someone with Barbie's expertise to help them.
Did they know who he was when they hired him? Did they know he was a horrible Nazi?
If he didn't mention or talk about being a Nazi, the Americans were willing to overlook that detail.
Gross.
When he became an agent for the CIA to spy on the Soviets.
What the we are the world is such a messy place.
He's not the best agent, though. His information just isn't useful. But to save handing him over to the French, who want to try him as a war criminal, they can't do that. Because they have to deny that they know him. So instead, they let him pack his bags and allow him to escape to South America. The Americans are the ones who give him his new identity and new papers and let you go to Bolivia.
This is so fucking typical. So typical. We can't admit that we had anything to do with this guy, so we'll just... Ooh, what if we put this new person in power and turns out they kind of suck, so now we have to kill them and put someone else in power, and surprise, they suck too. Let's just stop being shitty. Rant over.
I will go on record as saying is that I think America's history of world policing is looked at very negatively, and I totally understand that. But I would argue that in places like Kosovo, for instance, the Yugoslavian wars and stuff wouldn't have ended without Clinton. So I do think that it's a mixed bunch.
It is mixed.
Once you throw Iraq into the mix, you kind of like the scales start tipping pretty far on the other side, but it's not all bad.
Right. I mean, the problem is the examples of when it perhaps has worked or been helpful justify...
It's certainly, yeah.
In a lot of people's minds, the times like doing it again or the times when it didn't work. It's like
the times that we don't know about because it's all classified.
Yeah. In Guam, they celebrate every year. It's a yearly holiday of when the Americans came and basically liberated them from Japanese control during World War II.
USA.
They celebrate it.
The Hawaiians, on the other hand, not fans.
Yeah, the Hawaiians feel a little differently. Puerto Rico, look, we're fucking up all over the place.
By 1971, we know he's in Peru.
We're in the 70s now? I didn't realize we jumped so far into time. I guess you did talk about the Cold War.
Yeah.
You're like the Cold War. I'm like, wow, we've been hunting this guy for a long time.
There's a lot of Nazis to hunt. We could have a podcast called Nazi Hunters. There probably is one called that. Beate goes to Peru. She goes to ask the government to extradite him to France to stand trial. And Beate ends up going on a press tour telling everyone she can about who Peru are harboring. So the Peruvians very much do what the USAians did. Americans.
USAians.
They washed their hands of him and just deport him to Bolivia. Klaus Altman was a Bolivian citizen, and the Peruvian government just wanted nothing to do with him, so they just got rid of him. So Beate goes to Bolivia and starts again telling the government and the press the problem is that Bolivia at that time was under a dictatorship. Meaning you can't just talk to the press, and you certainly shouldn't be making Bolivia look bad. And this made Bolivia look bad.
Yeah.
So Beate gets arrested a bunch of times.
Oh my gosh.
She's harassed. She's in danger, real danger. And Barbie has connections that are protecting him.
Yeah, I bet he does. Other fucking former Nazis. I'm sorry, I'm going to not curse so much moving forward. It makes me angry.
The fact is that in a Bolivian dictatorship, turns out the things that are very valuable to the government are all the things that Barbie knew about from his time in the Gestapo. He had some transferable skills, let's put it. Barbie is working as an arms dealer. He does, though, take $10,000 from the government to ship some cargo, but he doesn't ever ship the cargo. This puts his place in the regime into a bit of a grey space, but he's using the Bolivians, essentially, and working very much outside the law. He's a scumbag, Paula.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
Beate has managed to drum up some support, though, and the press believe her, but the government doesn't agree to extradite. In fact, on her way home, she's stopped in Lima. The Peruvians tell her that people are after her. Klaus's friends, and they want her dead.
Yeah, I bet they do. Oh my gosh.
I would like you to guess how this changes Beate's behavior.
I bet it doesn't. I bet she's like, you know what? I don't care. I am taking this guy out. You can't mess with me.
This does nothing to dissuade her from what she started.
She's like, good, come at me, bruh. That's what she says, literally, I think. That's the quote I saw.
I believe that's where we get that from.
Yeah, she's the first one who said it, and now we've just taken it on. You can Snopes that. It'll come up as true.
It's been shortened. It used to be, come at me, Bolivia. But now it's just...
Bolivia, bro. Bro. Bro, Livia.
So she heads back to France to regroup. She's only home a week when she finds that Barbie's been arrested in Bolivia.
For what?
Not for being a Nazi, but he does owe the government some money. So to try and raise some money, Barbie is the one that goes to the press. He gives an interview.
What?
saying that he's not Klaus Barbie, that he's Klaus Altman, and this is all a big misunderstanding. He's selling his story.
Ew. To be able to pay the government what he owes them so that he's not in trouble there anymore.
Exactly. And Paula, this is when the most Hollywood thing in the world happens in this story.
George Clooney shows up?
George Clooney and his wife show up. She's amazing. She, if anything, outshines him.
She is pretty great. She's awesome.
I don't know anything about her. I just know that everyone likes her.
She's like a human rights lawyer.
Yeah, we could all do that. I'll do a podcast.
We do a podcast, so we're as good as she is.
Klaus is giving an interview to the French press. They're talking in German. Why wouldn't they be? When the interview asks, as to une conscience tranquille? And without skipping a beat, Altman answers in French. Altman doesn't know French, but Klaus Barbie does.
It's like the end of The Great Escape.
It's exactly like the end of The Great Escape.
He's just like German, 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 French thing, and he just responds without even thinking. Because he was in France talking to French people all during the war.
Is your conscience clear, is what was asked.
What did he say back in French?
It's too late. At this point, the French government are calling for his extradition. But Barbie now has enough money to be realised. He says yes. He's nothing to hide.
He's like, I don't have anything to hide. And they're like, aha. Then why have you been hiding the fact that you can speak French all this time, you dum-dum?
Barbie's now, though, made enough money to be released from jail. So he's off again. He knows that they're after him. Beate takes Madame Benguigui to Bolivia, the mother of the 3 children that Barbie had murdered.
Yeah.
They're trying to drum up press to get this extradition to happen. But the Bolivians are telling Beate not to go to the press. They know that even though it's a dictatorship, they can't just arrest a citizen. Beate chains herself to a bench to protest.
Wow.
And instead of not being in the press, she's on page 1 for weeks.
Can they just prove he's not actually a citizen?
He is Bolivian. He has Bolivian citizenship. I imagine when the Americans gave him a foreign citizenship, it was an official citizenship.
But he...
It's at this point that Beate and Serge decide to take a more direct approach. And they hatch a plan to just kidnap Barbie.
I was going to say, how long does it take before they just go, you know what? We're vigilanteing this. Like, forget it.
I mean, that's what Mossad are doing. The Israeli Special Services are going to the beaches of Brazil and they're drowning people. That's happening. They'll find you and they'll just kill you. They don't need to take you back to Israel to stand trial. They ain't going to get you. They make all the steps they need. They find men to help. They plan to grab him while he's driving. They pay $5,000 to someone, but it blows up when the car that they bought gets into an accident and they have to call it all off. But this is a blessing in disguise because this needed to be done right. It's now 1981.
Jeez Louise.
Barbie's still in Bolivia. He's helping to lead a group called the Fiancés of Death. They're cocaine smugglers and government thugs. He's truly back to what he loves doing, killing and torturing people on behalf of the Bolivian government, suppressing the resistance in Bolivia, just like he had in Lyon. The New York Times sent people to find him. Peter McFerrin goes to Barbie's house, but they're arrested, threatened, and sent on their way. The New York Times publishes the whole thing about Barbie's drug smuggling and the fact that he's a Nazi, but the government are hand in hand with Barbie. So until that changes, Barbie just has too much protection. Well, wouldn't you know it? It's 1981. Bolivia. The dictatorship topples, which is a big subject for another time. But the new democratic leadership aren't interested in harboring a known Nazi.
Yeah, they're like, okay, first order of business.
Yeah, so once again, they directly ask the French Prime Minister to demand the extradition of Barbie. And the Bolivians just agree. Remember that $10,000 that the former government gave Barbie to smuggle weapons for them? Well, regardless of the legality of that request, Barbie never paid it back. And using this, they arrest him. Barbie's sent to prison. His citizenship is revoked. And soon after, he's on a plane.
Get out of here. Au revoir.
Whatever that is in He believes he's going to Germany to be tried. He's not too worried. They'll go easy on him. Time's passed, but news comes down the wire to Serge and Beate Klarsfeld while Barbie's on the plane.
Oh, they're like, oh, really? Okay.
A plane that is not going to Germany. He's going to France. He's held in the same prison in Lyon in which years ago he committed his atrocities.
Bit poetic.
Klaus Barbie is officially charged with crimes against humanity. His trial is swift. He shows no remorse, no guilt, no regret.
Wow, none at all? He doesn't even try and fake it? I think he is like a psychopath or a sociopath.
You should see the footage of him when he's arrested, the footage of him when he's on trial. He looks evil. In 1987, he's found guilty. Life in prison.
Wow.
A sentence of which he will only serve 4 years before the butcher of Lyon himself is dead.
It took so long.
It's thanks to the work of Beate and Serge, the years of dedication, resistance, perseverance, and courage, that they are the people who brought down a truly heinous man. An act that could never bring back the 44 children he murdered, Mrs. Benguigui's 3 sons, but perhaps she would be able to finally sleep at night, knowing that Beate and Serge had brought her and the 14,000 other victims the smallest piece of justice they deserved.
A little bit of closure for them. That the person who did all of these things was not out and about doing more things. It's amazing that they kept at it for so long, that they did not let themselves get so discouraged. I mean, we're talking 40 years?
That's not how long they were after him specifically, because they had decided afterwards we're going to try to do this, but he'd been on the lam for 40 years plus, and...
I mean, that is a long time. And it's not really fair that he got to live that much of his life. Now, I imagine that his life was stressful, but he got to live it, and that is something that he took from an unimaginable number of people.
What's important is he had to, even if he didn't show remorse and regret, he had to show the world who he was.
He had to admit in front of everyone, it was shown what he did, who he was, and he had to face those things. And it's incredible what Beate and Serge did. I know that researching this was likely incredibly difficult, and that writing this story was difficult, and talking about it was difficult, Matthew. So,
well, you know,
thank you for your...
It's not really much other than going through what people have gone through, just telling a story, but...
No, but it's still not... That doesn't take away... It's a different kind of difficult, but it's still difficult, and it's worth acknowledging. Thank you for bringing the story, because I didn't know it. And I think it's a way, maybe this sounds cheesy, but I think it's a way to help those victims kind of continue to live in a way by not forgetting that something happened to them.
Yeah, maybe in a small way.
And that they existed. And to honor the people who fought really hard to try and bring justice the best they could to a horrible situation. So thank you. And we came up with a pretty good joke about Bolivia.
True, we did, and that was great.
So that's the real upside of this episode.
Look, if you enjoyed that, then you can enjoy telling someone else about the show.
And if you enjoy what you're getting here on YouTube, well, you sure can share this video and this channel with someone who you think might also enjoy it. You can say to them, come at me, Bolivia, with another YouTube channel recommendation. You know, that's what I say to the YouTube algorithm all the time. Come at me, Bolivia.
You do say that. I've never understood it until now.
Now it all makes sense. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. And it really does mean a lot in growing this channel if you subscribe to the channel, if you thumbs up the video, leave a comment and let us know just what you think about this episode. Those things really do help give us a little push in the algorithm. And algorithm is the real bro here. So thank you so much for watching. You can find us also just on a podcast app if you would prefer to just listen without any video. That's cool. You can do that wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And we'll see you next week with another episode. Bye.
Bye, everyone.